Hey everybody, how you doing? Well, okay. Welcome to PHLY Flyers Postgame, presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. My name is Bill Matz. I'm your, host for whatever this was. Joining me tonight, it is Broad Street Hockey's own Kelly Hinkle. That was a barn burner, huh, there, Hinks?
Listen, I don't care what happens. You're always my director of fun and games.
I try to do what
We're going to have fun.
And we always do have fun. What was not fun was this homestand for the Philadelphia Flyers. They wrap it up in not so dramatic fashion after the win against Tampa. Thought, okay, maybe they're going to come back around. They get shut out by Pytor Kochetkov. Pytor is how they were saying it on the broadcast tonight. Kochetkov 5-0 at the hands of Brind'Amour's Hurricanes. And Kelly, these homestand stats are really something. 1-6-0, outscored 30-12. The power play, this is a great one. Power play 0-for-17 with one shorthanded goal allowed. On the 7-game homestand, they still have no power play goals in the month of March. Today is the 15th. That's really something special. Penalty kill, 64.7%, killed only 11 of 17. And Travis Konecny, the team's best player, no goals, 2 assists in the 7 games. I don't know. And that is all the time. Listen, it's good. We know it's good for the big picture thing here. The big picture is getting the talent we need. The better your lottery odds, the better chance you have of getting the best possible player you can. And, well, they certainly helped their cause tonight, I suppose.
They really did put on a show for the fans here at the end of the season, didn't they? Nice long homestand. People buying tickets for their kids, coming out to see Matvei Michkov, and they did that.
They did that, all right. I can't even. I can't even knock their effort or anything tonight. The shot total, it's 31-26. It was even at 22 apiece at one point. They seem to be holding their own despite giving up an early goal. First period, I thought went about as well as you could expect, at least until they surrendered the second goal there. They were getting their counterattack chances, and that's how they stay in these games against the better teams. We've seen, okay, if we can just keep them to the outside, we know they have more talent. We know they're going to beat us. They're going to have puck possession, especially Carolina. But if we're able to limit their chances, keep them to the outside, force turnovers, and get counterattack, we might have a chance. When they did have those chances, when the game was still in the balance, Kochetkov was up to the task. They weren't able to convert, and then eventually they got overwhelmed. That's really what I think I saw. They just got overwhelmed by a Stanley Cup contending team.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely wasn't a question of effort. They were certainly trying out there, but also it was very sloppy. Just sloppy passing, tons of rebounds and no one clearing them. Just it was not a very attractive hockey game. It was just one of those games where one team is rebuilding, one team is going to make a push. You can clearly tell which one is which, no question.
And it's not Tampa had lost, I think, 2 in a row coming in on Thursday. So maybe you're catching them at the right time. Canes surging, they had won 6. This is their 7th straight victory for them. And man, how about the moves Eric Dulski made at the deadline? Talk about talk about a bang up job. That's what I'm gonna chalk it up to, Kelly. It's actually
He's just
like,
really smart.
you know, the Mikko Rantanen, he was just like a throw in. We'll see how it goes. Taylor Hall, that was the big the big addition. You know, you get Jankowski. Stankoven had a goal taken away tonight on a successful review. It was an ugly, ugly game. Discombobulated is the word I used early in the second period, when it was like, yeah, every time we get the puck, we either turn it over with a bad pass or for some reason fall down. Like it was an ugly freaking game. They just did not have it tonight. Just didn't. We've seen them lose plenty, and we've seen the effort be way worse the last couple of years. Like right before we went live, you were like, was it 2-3 years ago when I just quit doing post games for BSH Radio? You're like, I see why you did that, because I was like, I'm not wasting my time. What am I going to watch this whole thing and then spend an hour talking about it? There's more stories to talk about like this time, because it seems like they have a plan and this is in service of something. But man, this was a rough one. I feel bad for anyone who paid money to go see this. That's what I'll say about that.
It is rough, and I was trying to think, like, if I was going to do a Charlie and I was going to pick 3 Flyers to be the 3 stars of this game, like I honestly don't even know.
Hathaway.
Like, I would pick them out of a hat, I guess.
Hathaway, Ristolainen, and ALLCITY Kolosov. Those are my 3 Flyers stars. We had to pick those. We are actually Charlie not with us tonight. Man, he picked quite an evening to take one off. You know, like a couple of weeks ago, he told me he had tickets to this concert. It's a Saturday. It's in Boston. Some band he loves. It's like their last tour, so he wants to go see him. I was like, yeah, man, we'll make it work. And the man might be I always tell him, like, I know you can't predict the future, but give me, you know, maybe he can. Maybe we need to start pressing him for more predictions or something, because he certainly picked the right night to take off. And it's almost tough to pick, like, really where to start with the conversation. But I want to go to I'm going to go to Travis Konecny, because he's their best player. And on this homestand, listen, I love TK. No goals, 2 assists on a 7-game homestand. They go 1-6-0. You got to look at, unfair as it might be, I think he's battling something. Now I also think he's battling like a jinx or a curse from a witch. But whatever it is, man, he just, again, snake bitten tonight, to say the least. I hate using cliches like snake bitten, but like it's the only thing that fits right now. He has the great 2-on-1 chance with Paling in the first. And I couldn't tell if a D-man may have gotten his stick in there, but it looked like he kind of bunted it, just couldn't get it. Cross crease pass, he couldn't put it away. Hit a few posts, had a few passes that looked like they were ticketed for chances, and then they just end up on Carolina Hurricane sticks. He is really going through it. One of those goals. He had one, like, has the puck up high and thinks he can do something with it. There's nothing there, and rather than turn it over, he just sends it back into his own zone and like, okay, Ersson can play it, and it's like out of Ersson's reach. The Canes win the race to the puck, and now they're in the zone for him. Like, it was just a bad game. And what I want to talk about Travis Konecny, because honestly, who cares about, tonight, is this second half swoon that he is clearly in, and what might be a little bit of a pattern for TK. So we know this year, 20 goals, 45 points in the first 41 games. That is a 40-goal, 90-point pace. Since then, 2 goals and 20 points in 27 games. That is I know the goals, like, he'll score more than this, but a 6-goal, 61-point pace. 61 points, still respectable, but he was on pace for 90 at one point. The precipitous drop in the last 27 games is rough. And what I want to compare that to is what he did last year, Hinkle. First 39 games he played, 21 goals, 36 points. That is a 44-goal, 76-point pace. Great, good stuff.
Yeah.
Then, in his final 37, he puts up 12 goals and 32 points. That is a 27-goal, 71-point pace. So again, the point pace doesn't totally die, but the goal scoring goes away. Is this a concern for you? Like, we started talking about, like, okay, we just know, like, first half of the season, you ain't getting nothing out of Morgan Frost, and that's not going to fly. Is this second half thing kind of an issue for you with TK?
So I didn't realize he dropped off at the end of last year. I mean, honestly, if he had 12 goals right now in the second half, I'd feel really great. That would be good. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. This is one of those things where, like, this happened to Farabee one season. Like, if he's scoring at a 90-point pace in the second half of the season, we're not fussed at all about the first half. You know what I mean? Like, it always happens that when they drop off at the end of the year, people freak out and lose their mind. If you flipped it around, if he had a slow start and then picked it up, you'd be like, oh, great. He had a slow start and he picked it up. Like, that's like a positive thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's at the end of the day, the points are the points. If I don't hear after the last game of this season that there's something going on with him, I might have a little bit of a.
We actually have someone who's been.
The drop off this year is like.
It's obvious.
Yeah.
Like last year, all right, the goals dry up, but he's still on like basically the same point pace. If he scores a little, he's above like the point pace he was on, And this year, the assists have been there. Not so much recently, only 2 on the homestand, but
no one's scoring.
In the 27 games as a whole, all right, 20 points. Like, it's not the end of the world. Only 2 of them goals, though. That's concerning. And yes, your thing about like when it happens, and Charlie would be like, well, recency bias, it's not always fair to but it's what we've just seen, and this is how I want to frame it, Hinkle. We're looking at this long-term contract, and the bet Danny Briere and the organization has made on Travis Konecny is that he will age well.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe he will. It's very possible. Like, we see a lot of guys playing well into their, mid to late 30s at this point. That said, if he is wearing down at the end of seasons, like if that is a thing that is with him now, what happens when he loses a step? Like, will he actually not age well? It's just, I don't know. I'm not saying he won't. This isn't Bill's hot take. Like, oh, this contract's a disaster. Like, no, that would be disingenuous of me to say after I was like, listen, maybe they probably should have traded him. That's what I would have done, but it's not the end of the world. TK's a good player. They kept him. That's fine. But it is a thing that I'm just thinking about looking at this pattern.
So I wanted to look at time on ice real quick, just to kind of see. He's 3rd on the team in average time on ice this season. And so maybe you have, if this is in fact just him wearing down, maybe you have to start thinking about, like, he can't be in your top 5 players time on ice wise. Like, and the hope is obviously that in 3 or 4 years, when you would imagine that he would start to drop off a bit, we're going to have way more players that are better than Travis Konecny. Like, that should be the goal of all of this. And if that's the case, then you can really cut back his ice time. Maybe if we do that, and you're also not depending on him to score at 100-point pace every season, maybe then things, are fine. Like, they even out. I think when you're asking him to be the best player on the team and you're asking him to play 20 minutes a night every night, maybe that is like a little bit too much to ask of Travis Konecny.
Yeah, a light night for him in terms of what he normally gets, 18 minutes and 19 seconds. He came into the game averaging 20.45, and that's the positive I'm going to look at, like you just said. When this team has more good players, and he is not in all 3 situations, he is our best, unquestioned best player, perhaps when he's at 17, 18 minutes a night on average, rather than almost 21, you just get more out of him. It doesn't sound like a ton, but it's the leverage he played. Like, he's one of your top penalty killers. He's on your top power play. He's on your top line. He plays the most minutes. Like, the guys ahead of him in time on ice are defensemen. He's playing the minutes you expect of a star. And while I like TK a lot, and I think he is that, tier 2, he could be the 3rd or 4th best player in a cup team, at least 3rd or 4th best forward, I would say. He's not this guy. I think that's what we're seeing, and no one ever thought he was. And I realize, you look at the contract number, and it's the biggest outside of Shea Weber. He didn't actually play for the team. The biggest contract anyone's ever signed as a Philadelphia Flyer. But we have to look at it in terms of, yes, it's the Giroux number, but when you look at the cap percentage, it won't be. And maybe judging him on that scale is a little unfair, but man, it's just a bummer to see him going through this. And when you look at the numbers for a second straight year, and that contract doesn't kick into next year, you do have to start to ask questions. I'm not saying it's a disaster, not saying they have to get out of this thing as soon as possible, but it was a bit of a question mark when they did it. And I think at least revisiting it a tad is worthwhile right now. But I think there are explanations. We have one guy, I've been saying for months, I think he's hurt, at least dealing with something that's affecting his goal scoring. We have a guy who's been tweeting us saying he thinks on January 16th, he went headfirst into the boards. And I do kind of remember that. Maybe
I love this kind of forensic analysis.
And that's like a few games after when I think he got hurt in game 41 against the Leafs when he scored 2 goals to get him to 20 on the season. I think I remember something happening in that game too, because his shots per game started to fall off there. But the 16th does seem to be like when the numbers really, really started to fall. So maybe that's it. Maybe it's that head first fall into the boards, and he's like, I'm the team's best player. I'm on a 40-goal pace. I can't take any time. I don't know. I'm just hoping it's more of a, he's got like a wrist injury and he can't shoot the puck as well. Maybe that's it. But it hasn't been going great for TK. And when these things happen multiple seasons in a row, I do think it is worth at least starting to ask questions about.
You're not wrong.
No, I wish I was. That's the thing, is I really, really wish.
It's the burden that you bear, Bill. You just aren't wrong very often.
I'm only wrong about good stuff. I'm wrong about stuff that, all my bets lose, but stuff like this, I, for some reason, get right. Before we go any further, though, I have to tell you about a couple of our sponsors, starting with Factor. Are you ready to optimize your nutrition this year? Well, Factor has chef-made gourmet meals that make eating well easy. They're dietitian approved and ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes, so you can fuel right and feel great no matter what life throws at you. Factor arrives fresh and fully prepared, perfect for any active, busy lifestyle. And you can lose up to 8 pounds in 8 weeks with Factor keto meals. That might be something I need to look into as we get closer to the summer. Based on some clinical trials, these keto meals have done really well. There's 40 options across 8 different dietary preferences on the menu each week. They mix it up. I had a delicious, absolutely awesome garlic chicken with grits the other day. It was outstanding. It was really freaking good. I've had a bunch of Factor meals over the last few weeks. Really big fan of Factor. And right now, you can eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/Flyers50off and use code Flyers50off to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code Flyers50OFF at factormeals.com/Flyers50off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. And while we're here, I got to tell you about my friends at Rothman Orthopedics, because if you have aching joints or cramping hands or your back's out of whack, Rothman's got you. Maybe TK needs a visit to Rothman. Maybe that's what the problem is, because at Rothman Orthopedics, they've been practicing specialized care. It's been their passion for over 50 years, and their mission, it's high quality, compassionate, and affordable care rooted in research leading to new treatments and better outcomes. Each Rothman doc is laser focused on their specialty, whether it's hip, knee, spine, you name it. They have a team for each body part, and they're right in your backyard, so you can get back to whatever you specialize in, because they're Rothman Orthopedics, and they specialize in orthopedics and you. Visit rothmanortho.com/PHLY to learn more and make your appointment today. Yeah, the TK thing, it's just like, I just feel he's clearly so frustrated. And there was a quote today. I think Kevin Kurz asked him if he thinks he's overthinking. He goes, yeah, that's what it is. And, Travis Sanheim, they're buddies. They just bust each other's balls. He's just, don't think. But I always go back to the lessons we learned in Bull Durham from Crash Davis. Lesson number 1, don't think it can only hurt the ball club. And perhaps that's it. Maybe he just got in a little bit of a rut, and now he doesn't know how the hell to get out of it. But you just see the bad luck. You see the chances. He had a tip in front that just went wide tonight. He hits a post. He hit 3 posts in the shootout. I'm just feeling for him right now. Like, I'm frustrated. And if this thing about second half drop-offs is true, like, that's bad for the team. But at this very moment, I'm just feeling for him because he does put everything into this team, and he's being asked to be, the best player and a veteran leader on a team that, whether he's playing well or not, doesn't have a chance to make the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just so deep in it now that, like, this is one of those situations where, like, the only way he's going to get out of it is, like, accidentally score a goal, like, off his butt or something. Like, one of those just, like, freak fluke goals where it just goes in, and then it's like, okay, now I can be normal again. Because, I'm almost certainly in his head. It seems to happen with all these guys. The deeper they get into these cold streaks, like, the worse they seem to get. Like, gripping the stick too hard, obviously thinking too much, making stupid mistakes that you don't expect from a guy like Travis Konecny. He's got to like, his teammates need to start shooting the puck at him in the hopes that it goes off of him into the net. It's the only way forward.
And like the way, like Tippett and Konecny and Coots were looking for Michkov in the preseason just to get him going, get the crowd into it, see what he's got. Like, maybe there needs to be more of a concerted effort for that for TK. But the problem is he's like their whole offense,
right?
And honestly, I do want to give the Brink line some credit. We'll talk about them a little bit later. But I don't know. There's just no explanation for TK right now. That's why I'm just like, obviously it sucks if he got hurt, but at least it's a reason and not just it went away. There's going to be a Space Jam about hockey, and he is one of the players that got robbed of their skill by some aliens.
Now I want to see this movie. Another movie you have to write. Hockey Space Jam.
I am working on it, and what we're going to work on right now is our Ace Hardware temperature check. Let's take a look at which Flyer is heating up or cooling off with our Ace Hardware temp check. Visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project. And we could continue to dump on TK or something. Maybe we could highlight the Paling line for playing well again. No, we're going to talk about John Tortorella in this tonight. He does get and I guess it's the video team too, but he gets one of 2 challenges. The first goalie interference, though, I realize goalie interference is kind of wacky this year. Even if there's not a ton of contact, it's like, well, you're in his spot. If he has a presence in the crease that somehow interferes with the goalie, maybe it gets called. But I didn't see anything on that one.
I don't think he really touched Ersson much at all, but he was in the crease, and I kind of feel like it was just like a gamble, like, because like you said, like, they've been calling a lot of like really weak stuff just because a player's like fully in the crease. They're like, well, he can't be in there. And I kind of maybe get what they were trying to do, just like stop the bleeding immediately.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yes. See if we can get lucky.
See if we can get lucky. Because I mean, honestly, goalie interference calls are a coin flip.
They
like,
are.
Unless a guy's like laying on top of the goaltender, you don't really know what's going to get called or what's not. So like, I respect the effort, but he doesn't really get challenges wrong very often. So
no, and the video team does an awesome job on offside. Like, those are pretty much automatic. They get one of those tonight to take a goal off the board, of course, because that late season Calder surge for Logan Stankoven. No, not going to happen, I guess. Nope. That bet's good as dead. But the thing I want to talk about, because the team is cooling off for this Ace Hardware temp check. So not only has TK fallen off in the second half for a second straight year, and the team didn't get off to the same start they did last season, but this is shaping up to be yet another disastrous March for John Tortorella. And they did you see them advertise a sit-down between Ashlyn Sullivan and Torts that'll air pregame Monday, so St. Patty's Day. And it's time, he thinks, to add some pieces and take a step, but also his future came up. Kelly, after a second straight year of this, like, the team clearly exhausted playing for him. I know it's exhausting covering him and just the way he coaches, what he demands out of his players. I'm not even talking about like the Michkov benching or anything, just what it is to go through the John Tortorella experience. You think this might be it?
I mean, I think I've been very clear that I'm of the opinion that it ought to be. But yeah, I'm interested to see this interview because I mean, it's going to be like a cake interview because it's being conducted by the team. So,
yeah,
you know,
I mean, I can't imagine he's like,
questions.
I can't imagine like, and this was clearly already filmed. They should, you know,
Yeah.
like, oh yes, and he quit in the middle of it. Like,
right.
He coached the game tonight, so.
Yeah, like I can't imagine Ashlyn Sullivan's going to be like, so John, are you ready to move upstairs? Because we've had enough of you. Like I can't, like no one's going to ask that question. But also like, I don't know, they sold at the deadline last year. They sold at the deadline this year, along with the Farabee and Frost trade. So like both years, the teams were like markedly worse after the deadline. So like, it's not a huge surprise that they have looked worse after the trade deadline both years. But that said, I do think there is something to, and like this kind of, it could go back to the Konecny discussion that playing for John Tortorella is hard. And the only way that you can win games when your team is in this situation is to play harder than every team that you play for 60 entire minutes, or you don't have a shot. And it's different for the other rebuilding teams because I don't think other rebuilding teams have such a focus on trying to win every game. Whereas John Tortorella is like, no, we're winning every game and I'm going to make you do the things to win every game. And it probably does wear guys out by the time you get to March. And March is like such a raise, like so many games in March.
That's when things start snowballing. Like there's no way to recover.
Right, exactly. You don't have a second to catch your breath or like have a break or anything. There's games every other day. I would love to blame this entirely on John Tortorella because that's the kind of mood I'm in with him right now.
Yeah.
But I think it's just a combination of things. But it really is like, it just feels like time. Like we've said 100 times, he's laid the foundation. Good job. Now we need somebody else to start like building the team up a little bit so that they can be great moving forward.
All right, and that is the Ace Hardware temp check. Man, this team, Ace Hardware must have fixed their air conditioning because they are ice freaking cold right now. I do want to stay on Torts for a second. There's 14 games left, so like I don't think this is a Monday thing, Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think we see again at the end of the year John Tortorella do his little, yo, Rocky, Brad, you got this. I'm going to be up there with Danny and we're going to be talking about stuff. Like I think that is a real possibility again this year. And honestly, not even just cuz like I'm kind of done with Torts. I think he's a good teacher. I think he's laid the foundation. Good job.
Yeah.
He's move upstairs and I guess make sure we keep to our culture or whatever it is he's going to do as an advisor or AGM or whatever the hell it's going to be. But the players need the break, don't they? Like we've heard that he doesn't do exit interviews with the team because after 82 games, or you know, if they happen to make the playoffs, even more, everyone hates him. Like it's been a hard season, and he's like, yeah, let's talk about this after everyone's cooled off in a few weeks. Maybe the players need the break from him now. Like maybe it should be on this road trip that they're about to go on, like a couple of games of Bradshaw or Rocky Thompson calling the shots back there.
Wouldn't be the worst thing. I mean, like, honestly, if all of your like subordinates at work, if all of them hate you at the end of the year, like, I feel like some inner reflection is necessary. Like, I don't think that the goal should be for your entire team of players to hate you at the end of the season. And honestly, the only way that's going to happen is if you take them all the way to a Stanley Cup win, which you did one time. So I don't know. I don't know. It's just I'm just tired of the whole shtick. It's exhausting. It's exhausting for us. I don't even have to play for him. It's exhausting.
No, on one hand, like he is constant entertainment, and when you have, you know, I mean, maybe not entertainment. He's constant content. And when we have 5 shows a week, we have to do no matter what.
The content
honestly,
is there,
talking
baby.
about this guy as the coach is more interesting than a lot of other things we've had to talk about in many other lost years we've had since we started doing this together all the way back in 16, 17, Hicks. So, like, on one hand, I am appreciative, and on the other, it's like, I wish there was just less of a focus. And I guess I could focus on him less, but that's kind of hard when it is John Tortorella. He does, whether purposefully or not, I do believe he does a lot of it purposefully.
A lot of it seems to be purposeful, yes.
The focus can tend to really be on him quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, sometimes you can see it as a good thing when the team's playing really poorly or having a lot of bad luck or whatever. Sometimes he'll do that thing where he makes some kind of fuss that turns the attention to him and away from the fact that the team is playing like crap. Those times it's like, all right, I kind of see what he's doing there. Like, he's trying to kind of take the heat off a little bit. But then a lot of times it's just him wanting to be the star of the show. And it's just like, I don't want the coach to be the star of the show. Like, any coach ever.
It would be cool if we had a guy. It was like, yeah, but he had 2 goals tonight and they lost 4-2. Like, so we could just talk about.
Have him. He just hasn't. He's not doing it yet.
That's TK did it for a lot of the year. Michkov has given us a lot to talk about. It has been fun, and I don't want to make tonight all negative. So I do want to point out once again the Lycksell Paling Brink line, Kelly. They had a ton of chances in the first. They were still pushing in the second. I'm not delusional. I don't think like Lycksell or Paling is going to be anything more than like what we think they are. Lycksell maybe is going to be a decent enough bottom 6 guy. Paling is a good 4C. I don't actually think that there's more there with those guys. No. But when I'm looking at Bobby Brink, and he was all over the place again tonight. He doesn't score. He has the one chance. Kochetkov gets the skate out right in front on the cross crease pass. He had a few more opportunities. That line was in the offensive zone as much as anybody. And when you look at like the plus minus tonight, 4 even strength goals against, and the Brink Lycksell Paling line as well as the Michkov Tippett Coots line aren't out there for any of them. I gotta say, I am, just a couple of games ago, it was Thursday. It was the Thursday pregame where I was like, this is an opportunity for Brink. Obviously, the Cates Forster Brink line was really good, and you move TK and Brink's spot to try to maybe get him going, and hasn't gone all that well. And now Brink, who I called the third guy, and this was an opportunity to see, like, oh, can he be an anchor on a line, or at least help be a driving force, not be a negative? Man, he has really, really been impressive. You and I got to talk a little bit about Brink on the mailbag show yesterday when someone brought up him versus Tippett. Steve and I talked a lot about this line on Thursday, but what I want to ask, seeing how it's going with Brink on another line and suddenly the Cates Forster line. Listen, the offense is going to be inconsistent with them. Cates is not an offensive producer. Forster's still finding his offensive game. But is it changing your mind a little bit? Because it seemed like, those 2 guys, we know what they are. And Brink, that's still the question. We'll see. I like how he's rounded out his game. It seems like he does a lot well, but is he great at anything? I don't know. It seems like he's a pretty damn good player. And I'm looking at that Cates Forster line. Like, yes, TK in a slump, but it ain't going well. And he's a really good player.
Yeah, I do think maybe we discounted Bobby Brink's contributions to that line a little bit. But also sometimes these things are just like, greater than the sum of their parts situation. Sometimes like players just click with each other and it doesn't make any sense. Yeah. And those 3, for whatever reason, just really clicked together. But I think that we were like so focused on the fact that Cates was playing so well, and he was obviously the driver of that line for the most part, that we were kind of just like, and also I think we all like want Tyson Forster to like be a thing.
Yeah.
So I think that we were kind of just looking at Brink as like the other guy that's there who's like getting the benefit of like these 2 guys. But honestly, I do think that we were a little bit wrong about that. I think Brink is obviously really bringing it lately. Like, he looks really good. And the fact that that line has kind of really fallen apart since taking him off of it, maybe he's a little bit more important than we thought he was.
Yeah, I'm seeing some comments here about Brink. Like someone said, I want to see Brink and Michkov together. I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't, it's they don't seem all that like crazy about playing both wings on their offside, but I just think it makes a lot of sense, especially when you have a setup guy in Brink and a finisher in Michkov. Like, yeah, man, get them in their like in their one-time positions, make it so they can play pitch and catch. I like how they've put Brink on that power play with Michkov. And listen, the power play is what it is. Like I said, it was 0 for 17 on the homestand. They're absolutely terrible. I know Boston has moved ahead of them, so I think they're third from the bottom overall now.
Hey, look at that.
It's freaking ugly, but I am very, very intrigued by what we've seen out of Bobby Brink, and he's been in a disaster homestand, one of the few actual bright spots that we've seen, and man, it's nice to have something positive to talk about, and maybe Lick sells more than we know. Who's to say? I guess.
I mean, Licksell, I think Licksell is like clearly a pretty solid fourth line guy. What like the kind of guy that you would like to see on your fourth line when you're not fully committed to your fourth line being, Paling, Hathaway, Delorier. You know what I mean? Like that's a kind of fourth line that teams go for sometimes. If you want your fourth line, I think, to be a little bit more skilled, Licksell, I think, is a guy that fits in there really well. I think at this point, I'm pretty confident he's an NHL player. Like I don't really see him as a quad A guy anymore. I think he could stick if there was a spot for him on this team. But then again, I'm not like
I'm not in love with him.
Yeah, he's one of those dudes where it's like he's a guy and he's good. And I like watching him play, and he'd make a good fourth liner, but also like he's just a guy. You could probably find 20 of him anywhere.
There's a lot of him, but like if you are going to pencil him in, like I like that the idea of that fourth line spot and how well he's been playing with Paling.
Yeah,
I think they're different players, but I think it could be similar to last year when it's Paling, Hathaway, and Cates on that left wing. Like I think that could maybe be the spot. Maybe that could be the spot Ula Licksell ultimately sticks in. If you maybe not the forechecker that Cates is, but he does other things with you in terms of providing the skill and maybe getting pucks to Hathaway and Cates, who are going to be in front doing all the dirty work.
I hope we get a look at that line, actually, because I feel like the logical thing is when Hathaway comes back is you're taking Delorier out. Like that seems like a logical thing to do. So
I thought Delorier had one again tonight, though. I'll say he had one of the better chances.
Doing his best.
Listen, I like Nick Delorier a lot. We all know he's a specialist, he does play. He does end up playing 10 minutes tonight. Nick Delorier 10:01. That's the kind of game it was. Basically double his typical ice time. What the hell can you do? At least we have Bobby Brink right now, I guess. Like that's one thing we can look at and go, all right, there's a guy who absolutely took a step this year. Maybe the overall numbers aren't great, but they're already better than last year. There's still 14 games left. He's showing a little something. And if we're going to, I see a lot of people on the old Twitter saying, yeah, of course, as soon as the teams like start playing hard in the spring again, just like last year, the Flyers aren't what they were. Well, if we're going to say that, then we can't say, oh, it's like garbage time for Brink. We have to say when other teams are stepping up, he is standing out.
Yes.
I'm cool with that. I am cool with that being the case with Bobby Brink right now. And hopefully in these last 14 games, we see him play even better than he has. I mean, what else do we have to look forward to at this point? Tell you what we don't have to look forward to, though, Hinkle. It's goaltending.
Oh.
This is another one of those nights where it's like, what, am I going to blame him? Like, I don't know. They got killed. They got killed. Yeah. He could have made some more saves, I guess, but I don't even know how to judge Ayerson on a night like tonight. What did you think?
There was only one goal I thought that was really weak. I think it was the second Jankowski goal. I thought probably could have had that one. The other ones though, would it be nice if his rebounds weren't so gigantic all the time? That would be good. There was a lot of that tonight, but then, you need the guys in front to clear them out for you. And there was none of that happening.
That's the Canes did live in the crease tonight. And that's just one of the places the Flyers got overwhelmed. I thought they did well. I thought handling that the shots were coming from everywhere. Like it seemed as if they understood that and knew at least how maybe to deal with it. But then the rebounds, like, okay, we're out to block the shot, but someone has to come back and help Ersson out a little when they're getting 2-3 opportunities. Like, that's on the defense.
Yes. Yeah, it was definitely, this was another one of those. Sam Ersson was not good, but also I can't blame him for the loss.
What the hell?
100 times. Yeah.
I don't know what goalie would have had a great night tonight. Like, we don't have a superstar goalie, so he wasn't going to win you this. He wasn't going to keep this one within reach, you know?
I can't remember if it was JJ or Bush suggested. I think in the second they were like, is he going to get pulled? I think it was after the third. I thought he might have been.
I thought it was a possibility, and I'm kind of, because I guess at that point, like, it's already over. If you're trying to spark the team, you could have done it after the first period or something. But he wasn't like bad at that. It was, I don't know. It was just a rough night for him. But it doesn't change the fact that since Four Nations, he is at .846 save percentage. He's 154 of his last 182. He is getting scored on a lot. And tonight, I do want to blame the defense, but it's his job to keep the puck out of the back of the net, and it didn't happen.
I mean, didn't Torts come out the other day and say, like, he's not a starting goaltender in the NHL? I'm fairly sure he said somewhere, like, he's not. Sorry.
Well, someone who isn't but might be, and I got to bring this up because it's one of your favorite topips, is Alexei Kolosov.
Oh, so is he doing stuff?
His first 2 starts in the AHL since they were actually off tonight, an odd Saturday off, it seems, for the Phantoms. But he started again the other night. He's made 2 starts since his latest demotion to Lehigh Valley. He stopped 48 of 51. He's at a .941 save percentage in his last 3. His one start he had in January before coming back up, he did pretty well. So while the overall numbers aren't great down there for him, they're climbing. He's at like 888 in the AHL, which is, it's not good, but it's better than what it was a few weeks ago. Do you think there's a chance we see him again? They only have so many. They have
one more call up. I think
non-emergency call up, so it's probably not him.
So if it's not an emergency, they would have to blow their last spot on him. I'm wondering if they're going to want to see Grabenkin at all before the end of the year. I don't know.
Do we have? I wanted to look this up and forgot today. Do we have? Is his visa?
I believe it's still visa issues.
Is he sorted? I
don't think it's sorted.
I realize it's a complicated issue. He's a Russian citizen. He was playing in Canada, so it's like a whole thing. But I was really hoping after the Kuzmenko-Peltier situation, we had this figured. But again, like, who knows how to deal with governments? Like, they
probably fired everybody that processes visas.
We are talking about government stuff, and it could just be a major complication that, for some reason, it doesn't seem like other teams are dealing with because they didn't make these Russian citizen playing in Canada trades. I don't know. It's just frustrating. But do you think?
Go ahead.
No,
I was just going to say, like,
that's great. Kolosov.
Yeah.
Say he finishes this year strong. Say he looks good in the AHL playoffs or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of wrote him off as an NHL goalie next year. Maybe he goes back to Belarus and we figure out a loan. Maybe he's just gone forever. Maybe he hangs around and it's him and Bjarnason and they're having a great time as the goalie tandem next year. You think if he finishes strong, it's a competition in camp maybe for the Ersson and Kolosov?
Well, we're still getting a guy, right? We still got to get a guy. Like, we're not writing that part off, right?
Presumably.
I wonder, they got to get somebody who they know can reliably put up like a 900.
I wonder if it shouldn't, but I wonder if a strong finish to the year in the AHL for Kolosov, where he has, the next month plus, where he looks like a starting goaltender, if not here, at least in the AHL.
Yeah.
If that kind of changes their mind, but I got to believe they do pursue a veteran goaltender, an Alex Lyon, Jake Allen, whoever.
Somebody.
All right, before we get to the last section of tonight's show, got to tell you a couple more of our sponsors, starting with our friends at Lucy Nicotine. Lucy Nicotine, that's right. It is on set with me tonight, and I have been going everywhere with Lucy. I am a big fan of this wintergreen flavor. It's good and sweet. It's not nearly, it doesn't have that like harsh mintiness that a lot of other wintergreen or more minty flavors of nicotine pouches do. I am all about Lucy nicotine pouches lately, and it's always 100% pure nicotine and always tobacco free. They come in pouches and breakers. The breakers are nicotine pouches with an extra surprise. Each pouch holds a capsule that can be broken open to release extra flavor and hydration. I am more of a regular, not the breakers, just the typical pouches. I have the 4 milligram here. I've tried the others. 4 works for me, but you have to, whatever your desire, you have to set yourself up with a subscription and have Lucy delivered straight to your door. Let's level up your nicotine routine with Lucy. Go to lucy.co/PHLY and use promo code PHLY to get 20% off your first order. Lucy has a 30-day refund policy if you change your mind. Again, that's lucy.co/PHLY. Use code PHLY to get 20% off. And here comes that fine print. Lucy products are only for adults of legal age, and every order is age verified. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. And while we're here, got to talk to you about our presenting sponsor. That's right, it's Bet365. A miracle happened tonight. We won a bet, Hinkle. Cam York went over his 2.5 blocked shots.
Yes.
That was wonderful to see. I think he ended up with 4 or 5. If I check the 5 blocked shots for Cam York tonight. So there's another positive. He's blocking a ton of shots again. That's cool to see.
Cool.
Unfortunately, Eric Robinson, 2 assists, a bunch of near chances, no goals, however, for the for the South Jersey product. So we only went 1 for 2, but I will absolutely take a win when I can get it. But whether I win or lose, I've been placing all of my bets at the Bet365 Sportsbook. And we have breaking news from Bet365. New customers now get $150 in bonus bets when you bet just $5, win or lose. All you got to do is sign up, use the code PHLY365, deposit $10, and place a bet for $5 to get $150 in bonus bets, whether you win or lose that initial bet. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in PA. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. That's my gambling problem is I just can't win. That's the problem. Like if I was winning, there'd be no issue.
You won tonight, Bill.
I did. Cam York came through for us, and that's one of the few positives we got out of tonight's game. Eric Robinson was all over the place. He got he had one of those shorthanded chances I talked about him being a special.
I thought he was going to get one.
He was around the net, the 2 assists. It really seemed as if he was going to pot one tonight, but it was not to be for us or for the old bank account. All right, got to talk a little about Matvei Michkov, because what would a show be without some Mad Russian discussion? Oh, I like that. Mad Russian discussion.
Look at that.
Good. I didn't even mean to do that. I guess his highlight was he got called for the unsportsmanlike when he got tangled up with fellow rookie Logan Stankoven. And
ridiculous.
So we've seen him punch Macklin Celebrini. We've seen him kind of try to start with Stankoven a little bit. I got to tell you, I'm pretty excited for Montreal and what he might do with Hudson. Maybe this is that scrap I've been waiting for, Kelly. Just he's going to, if he beats Hudson in a fight, do you think that gets him a few Calder votes?
I feel like, I mean, it's voted on by the Charlies, so I feel like that'll get him a couple of extra votes, honestly. That call was very weak. It's a very weak call. The 2 of them were just mixing it up. Like if you're going to, it had to be both of them or none of them. Because no one did anything more than the other.
There was that one, I was like, I was fine if they take neither. And honestly, there was a call on the Canes, I think in the 3rd period, where I felt the same. Was it, maybe it was in the 2nd. Oh, yeah, it was Jankowski against Abels, that roughing in the 2nd period.
Yeah.
I was absolutely fine. Like in the playoffs, neither of those are penalties. That's just how you play hockey. As I tweeted, like, Michkov is playoff ready. It's just the refs aren't. That was my big takeaway. He was okay tonight. Again, he wasn't on the ice for a goal against, which is pretty cool in a game that you lose 5-0. That's great to see.
Impressive.
I didn't really see too much else. I did think, especially early on, Owen Tippett was flying around. Like
he was.
He showed the speed a few times, got behind the defense, and that's not an easy defense to get behind. There were just so many times tonight, like, they're going to counter. Here we go. It's going to be like a 2-on-1. And somehow it seemed like they had 4 or 5 guys deep in the zone putting on pressure, and we just like happened to, get the puck and be able to break out. It's like, nope, they have 2 guys back somehow. They were
they were
all
everywhere.
They are.
I couldn't understand it. Like every single place the Flyers went, every single place they put the puck, there was a Carolina Hurricane there. Rod Brind'Amour knows what he's doing.
All right. Charlie is, of course, not here tonight.
No,
but
Charlie.
That doesn't mean we can't have Charlie O'Connor's 3 stars of the game presented by Rite Aid. That's right. It's the Rite Aid 3 stars. And, I mean, again, this is just going to be all Hurricanes because the game was all Hurricanes. Star number 3, I am going to give to Sebastian Aho. Aho, I guess I knew and just hadn't realized how dominant he's been against us. But he has a goal and an assist tonight. That's 2 points on the night. And he's, I think, a point-a-game player against the Flyers. 2 career hat tricks against us. He kills us. He's really good. I'm going to make him star number 3. He could have been number 2. But it's my stars, not Charlie's. And so I'm going to give it to the Hollydale kid. I'm going to go Eric Robinson with his 2 assists tonight. Is tonight's second star of the game. I thought he was noticeable in a game where, their best players are better than ours. They're going to kill us. It was one of their depth guys who had a couple of points, and I thought was one of their more noticeable players throughout the game. And finally, I mean, you get a shutout unless it's like, a Marty Brodeur 19 save special. You get first star of the game, and that is going to be Pytor Kochetkov, 26 out of 26. And while this is a blowout, it wasn't to start. There was a lot of back and forth action. That the Brink line had a lot of chances. Thought Tippett had a few chances. There were times that this game was in the balance in the first half of the game, and there was no answer. There was just absolutely no answer. It's the second time he shut out the Flyers. So there are our 3 stars of the game presented by Rite Aid. Thank you, Rite Aid, for sponsoring Charlie's 3 stars, even when he's not here, because he's having the time of his life in Boston at a concert tonight. But Kochetkov, this is like his 6th game, I think, against the Flyers. 2 shutouts. Like he had annoying. A 181 goals against us, goals against average against us coming in, and obviously that went down because he gave up 0. They've been waiting for this guy to come around. I feel like he's been there, and it's we still need someone else. I wonder if they go with him in the playoffs over Freddie Anderson, because Anderson's playoff track record, not awesome.
Not great. Yeah. I mean, if he's hot heading into it, they'd be crazy not to.
All right. Before we get to tonight's Super Chats, Shane, can you just put in the chat how many Super Chats we have? 6. Okay, cool. That's not too many. That means we can get to tonight's Tankathon spin. I guess there is another silver lining that comes out of tonight's game. Pittsburgh wins in regulation. They are now they have the same number of wins as the Flyers. They have a better points percentage. They have more regulation wins. So that is the tiebreaker. So the Flyers are now down to 6th from the bottom. They have the 6th best lottery odds. They're at 7.5%. Only Seattle, Buffalo, Nashville, Chicago, and San Jose are ahead of the Flyers in terms of lottery odds. So without further ado, Shane, spin that wheel. And we bring up Tankathon. There it is. I actually like this better remote because I can see it better.
Yeah, right.
There we go. And the Flyers fall to 7.
They're all to 7.
Well, this is also while they didn't win, and that's a bummer. You move up, and you can only fall down like 2 spots, and that means the Flyers are solidly within like the top 8. And that is also listen, I know we all want a top 5. If they could win this thing, be first or second, that would be awesome. But
could happen.
Top 8, you could do top 8. You could do a lot worse. So you're at 6, you fall to 7. Pretty sure that's how they got Michkov, wasn't it? Didn't they fall a spot to 7, or did they stay the same? I don't remember. It was at 7. Yeah.
The good news is we're definitely not going to be picking 13th or 14th like everyone was freaking out about a couple of months ago.
I'm
No danger.
I'm not saying terrified, Kelly, but they have this little gauntlet right now that they go through still, like, next week up through, like, next Saturday, I believe. And then the quality of opponent really drops off. Now, like that said, the way they're playing, you know, like they lost to Seattle, who
I was going to
is
say they also stink though.
Yeah. So I am a little afraid of that, like, 6-game winning streak to end the year. Like, they played Buffalo a few times. Buffalo's been pretty good recently though, but we always live in fear here. It's just what happens. All right, Shane, let's get to those super chats. I believe we have 6 to get to. Let us see them just right up here on the screen. First one from JH, our old pal, says Tank Commanders Torts and Airson reported for duty. That is honestly, I am Travis Konecny more than maybe anyone else on the team. He is well aware of what this team is missing. Maybe he's participating in the tank. You know,
maybe
perhaps he is doing this for us, and that's leadership as far as I'm concerned.
That's true. That's why he's got a letter, fam.
Maybe that is what we are all missing. All right, let's see this next one here. From Emily Ben says, rough game for Philly. However, thanks for the show. Listen, we're here no matter what, and we really appreciate. You know, we talk all the time about how great Flyers fans are, and there's always the best fans in hockey and this and that. The fact that you stick with this team when the best thing that came out of this game is they went from 7th to 6th in lottery odds. We appreciate it so much. Like the fact that we were able to like turn this into like me and Charlie's career, and we were able to do this from this stupid thing we started at BSH Radio so many years ago. Like, can't say it enough every show. Yeah. We appreciate you freaking maniacs more than you can possibly understand. All right. This next one we have from Adam P. Love the show and love when Kelly is on. With WrestleMania coming up, what would it take to get Bill to do a wrestling podcast? Hashtag Let's Go Cena. No, it's hashtag Cena sucks. I've been right about John Cena since I was in high school, damn it. A lot. Here's the thing about having a really cool job like this. It's great, but you do turn one of your hobbies into work. And wrestling is like that is my escape from reality. It is absolutely where I go to get away from it all. And listen, I do it. There's just certain circumstances that would have to come about. I don't see it happening before WrestleMania. WrestleMania is what, a month and 5 days away.
That feels ambitious.
I don't see that happening, but who knows? Anything is possible. I love freaking wrestling. I love talking about wrestling, but
maybe we can just get like one, like Bill Matt's guest spot on Hosers with Thomas.
Oh, there you go.
Just talk about wrestling for an hour. Give the people what they want.
Honestly, if we could get somebody to do all the work and all Bill has to do is show up and talk nonsense for an hour, I'm in. I'm absolutely in. It's just like, I don't know if PHLY is going to be down for that. You know, like they do. Like, let's hire someone else to give Bill a reason to do this other show. I can't blame him for that. All right. Do we have, I believe we have a couple more here from Kev A. Why is Michkov on the wrong side on the power play?
Because Rocky Thompson.
Yeah, they had him back on the right a couple, I think last game. They seem to be moving him around. Rocky Thompson at the carnival told Kelly and Charlie that Mish thought it was kind of his idea. He said maybe he wants to try the left side. I don't know. It just, Michkov on the right. Here's the thing. The power play sucked when he was over there too. It's not as if he's been on the left side all year. Like, this is kind of a newer development over maybe, I guess it's probably been like a month or so at this point. I don't know. Time isn't real. It might have been 3 months, but he spent a substantial amount of time on the right side. And while they had early success, it's not like it helped. This power play is a disaster. I don't know. Put him at the point. Like, put him net front. I don't know. There's no answer. To me, he should be on the right boards, closer to the goal line. But yeah, so he can do his below the goal line stuff. But I don't think there's an answer. There's certainly Rocky Thompson don't have no answers. And before we wrap up, just want to say we appreciate those of you watching on TV. Head to all PHLY for the rest of the show. Do we have one more super chat? I've been counting in my head, but I'm always wrong. Okay, JH, thoughts and prayers for my preseason slips. Looks like not a single one of them are going to pay out. the Michkov points total was 46.5. I think a lot of people got on that, but if you had like the Calder or anything, like, yeah, it's gotten away from you. Probably it looks like it's going to be Celebrini. It's a shame, but it is what it is. It was preseason bets. I mean, look at my preseason predictions. We showed them yesterday, and at the end of the season, we'll go back and do them all. I had the Rangers winning the Cup. I had the Preds winning the President's Trophy. This might be the worst prediction season ever. Like, I usually do okay when we do these preseason predictions. I might get curb stomped in this one this year.
I think this year you were trying to like not give the same answer as me and Charlie, and that bit you a little bit.
And it's like when you're in a competition, you want to like differentiate yourself and have places you can win. Like if we all have Michkov and he wins, like, okay, no one gained anything. Right. Of course, I didn't go with the number 1 overall generational pick Celebrini. I went with freaking Logan Stankoven. But it is what it is. I got absolutely destroyed in my predictions. And one more, I believe. Yes, from Gary B. Great to hear from Gary B. Tonight was torture. Stankoven is one of my favorite players in the league, but at the same time, I wanted Mish to hit him. Oh, I want Mish to get in one scrap, and this seems like it's size appropriate. You know, like he's not a huge guy. He was face to face. I don't remember who on Thursday, but he's like got him by the collar and he's looking up at him. Maybe this isn't the one, Mish. Maybe this isn't the one. Like a littler guy like that. Maybe he fights Caulfield. Maybe how big's Hudson? I have no idea, but maybe that.
No idea.
And I believe that is it. So that is all the time we have for you on PHLY Flyers Postgame presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for hanging out. If you haven't already, hit the like button and follow us right here on YouTube. Set that reminder bell so you never miss a live show. We'll be back with pre- and post-game on Monday, St. Patty's special. I got a little something special cooked up for you on Monday night. It's not something you're going to be used to seeing. I hope you tune in for that. It's going to be stupid. Follow us on Twitter.
In a good way.
In the best way possible. Follow us on Twitter at PHLY_Flyers and follow the podcast wherever you get those. Just search PHLY Flyers. That's it for us. I am Bill Matz. That is Kelly Hinkle. Until Monday, let's go Tank.
We all silly like the mayor.